Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by Barstool Sports and 3Chi, and a very special Ahsoka recap of My Mom's Basement. And this is maybe going to be the biggest Ahsoka recap because, oh my God, it is the most talked about episode of the series so far, written and directed by Dave Filoni. It is Robbie Fox, my co-host, Clem. Clem, we talked with Dave last week on the 300th episode, a lot about this series and a lot about whether or not it's translating and hitting for fans of the Clone Wars versus non-fans of the Clone Wars and Rebels and the animated stuff. This episode, pretty much a love letter, I think Jeff called it, to the Clone Wars and Rebels. We're going back, looking at actual experiences that these characters have gone through in those shows, brought it to live action. For me, this was like a masterpiece, obviously. And I'm not even the biggest Clone Wars fan out there. Like, I really enjoy the animated stuff, but I'm not the diehard, like, this is Star Wars. I like it. But this was a masterpiece of an episode for me. This, combined with last week, I think is one of the best hours of Star Wars you could get. For you, a total non-Clone Wars fan, how did it hit?
So it hit very well. I enjoyed it a lot, especially like the first half, all the flashback stuff and everything. I could tell that you guys were going to like it more. I think the animated fans, the prequel fans, I think that was going to be, like you said, almost a love letter. I also didn't realize Filoni did everything in this episode. So going into it, it would have raised the stakes even more. They put it in goddamn movie theaters. So I don't know how much more you're going to raise the stakes. So I've said it basically throughout the season that I feel like I'm watching someone else's show. Basically, it's like you guys have all the background and I'm kind of catching up. But at the same point, this episode in particular, I know enough about the characters. I watched the 10-minute recap. Shout out to the people that sent that on YouTube. Did a good enough job. And I've seen enough like little clips of Ahsoka and stuff just to kind of get the vibe. And I'm like, holy shit, they brought a cartoon to real life. Because a lot of like the beats that they take and the way that the characters move and the reveals and all that kind of stuff, I was like, that is straight out of a cartoon, yet they brought it to real life. And it's uniquely Clone Wars Rebels-y. I don't know how else to describe it. So for someone like me, I still had a blast, especially the first half. Again, second half, it's getting weird. I'm acknowledging the weirdness. We're in Star Wars. It's going to be weird no matter what. Shit was weird back in the 77, I'm sure. Like, we just take for granted, like, when Obi-Wan just disappears with Vader's lightsaber. Yeah. That's a fucking weird thing just to do for people that had no background on the franchise, right? Because it was the first movie in the history of it. So I'm just going to roll with the weirdness. And listen, I've had people coming up to me, like, mad at me, like, you better watch Rebels. Do it now. We need the non-Rebels contingent on this podcast because there are plenty of us. We might be the majority at this point, you know? Like, there is a good chunk of us that did not watch Rebels. Hell, fuck, you were outnumbered last week 2-1, right? In terms of Rebels versus non-Rebels. So there needs to be a voice for the people that just do not have that. You can hear my kids running around upstairs. I barely even have an hour to do this podcast right now. I'm going to be having AJ comment on me within 10 minutes. So
you were trying to start a non-Rebels rebellion is what you're trying to start right now.
Yes, exactly. I'm trying to have an uprising and it's going to get us there. Maybe that's what we should promote this podcast, Star Wars podcast for the non-Star Wars fan. We'll trick them and then they'll be like, oh, wait, this guy's a fucking lightsaber tattooed on his arm. He's a diehard.
I'll just wear long sleeves. I'll be like, no. But hey, I don't know if you saw the hate that I was getting. People are still angry about us saying lightsaber stabs should mean something at this point. People are still commenting on those TikToks and reels from weeks ago. I got one comment yesterday. They said, this guy's never watched an animated series to save his life. He probably started watching Star Wars with Mandalorian, which when I get that, I'm just like, never watched an animated series to save my life. Who do you think this guy is? Who do you think this guy is?
This guy has cartoons on his arm. You literally have cartoon characters on your arm, and you have, again, the aforementioned lightsaber. Show the guy your Twitter Avi. You got fucking Luke Skywalker himself holding your arm. So, yeah, good. The better I've learned this, especially with like the TikTok and Instagram short take videos, the dark side of the force is strong on those apps. You get those people pissed off and the numbers are just going to keep going up through the roof. So, again, from my perspective, fun episode, and we're going to get into obviously all the like beats of it all, but it was like a more grand version of what the rest of the series in. I feel like it's just, you turn the volume up and you guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm guaranteeing it. Somebody, at least one person, came themselves in the movie theater watching that. I'm telling you, I'm guaranteeing one person saw like Anakin back with Ahsoka and they're doing Clone Wars shit and they're doing stuff. And it just like happened on their own. They weren't stroking, they weren't, or, you know, whatever the ladies do, whatever you want to call it, moving. it was like Anakin. It was what did they call him? He was
immaculate conception.
It was immaculate conception in the movie theater is what happened because they saw their Rebels cartoon come to real life and it came on their lap.
Listen, if I wasn't at a concert last night, I would have been that guy probably. It probably would have been that South Park picture of me that we posted. People are like, enough with the South Park picture. Probably would have been me. I'm not judging. See, it is what it is.
We're the Star Wars podcast that talks about people coming themselves in movie theaters. We have to zag when everyone else
what
is
are we,
zigging.
5 minutes into this? We're trying to retain viewership here. People are like, are they talking about cum? 5 minutes? Did he say cumception in a lap? All right, let's get into the episode. Before we get into the nitty gritty, let me just say this. This is a take I have about the episode that I want to put out there. I genuinely believe, I've watched the episode twice now, this is Hayden Christensen's best performance as Anakin Skywalker ever. We have a lot more of it in episode 2 and 3, obviously. We get a little bit of it in Obi-Wan, but I've never been so compelled by his performance as Anakin. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's the Sith in Revenge of the Sith. He has that the arc he takes at the end is so fun, but there's I think some other like it's a clunky movie at some points. I never realized it's the best of the three. Not really saying much in my humble opinion. Not trying to piss people off here. Again, the Star Wars community is pretty close to being back together at this point. This felt like, and I'm like, keep bringing him back. Do you think we'll get more of him by the end of the season or by the end of the series maybe, or just you think this was it?
I think we might get another, like, I bet we will get him again, just to kind of like confirm that Ahsoka's like on the right path, probably.
Okay. Yeah.
Like him leaving didn't feel like it's the last time he's going to see Ahsoka. Maybe he could become like the Obi-Wan to her Luke, and we could just see him every now and then, just pop up as a Force ghost.
Yep, I wouldn't hate that one bit. I wouldn't hate just he's in the mix knowing he could come. Kind of like they said with like I said last week with like the Jaws theory, except it's not Vader just fucking shit up, but it's just like, oh, yep, there he is. There's our pal. Obi-Wan's the perfect way to put it.
Also, it would make the Return of the Jedi like head replacement make a little more sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Just been like, all right, I guess he reverts back to that aged Force ghost. Whatever. It is what it is. We won't harp on that.
Filoni's even fixing the special editions for the people who were mad there. A guy is fixing every Star Wars franchise for every complaint. He just has a list that's like, you know, the Chris Jericho list long, and he's just crossing everything off, man. God bless him.
Well, I actually talked about the special edition changes with Clemmer and Devlin in the office today, and one in particular, because not to skip ahead, but one of the first things Anakin says to Ahsoka is, "You look old." And I read online that this is because Ahsoka's 47 in canon, years old, and Anakin only lived to 45. And the first thing I said, I was like, holy fuck, he was a rough-looking 45 at the end. I know he got burnt up and everything, but president years don't compare to Darth years. It is crazy. And I said the one special edition change that I agree with the most, and I think was the best change, is removing Sebastian Shaw's bushy eyebrows in the original, because they would have been burnt off and everything. If you look back at the original, I think that looks so goofy. He looks like Egghead from the 1966 Batman or something. It's strange.
Yeah, it is weird when you do the numbers, but then you're thinking you have burnt to a crisp, you have in a suit, so no sunlight at all, basically. And then the dark side just ages you terribly, obviously, as anyone who hates Barstool will say. That's why we age like fucking milk in the sun. So I add it all up, and I do appreciate that. I wish like the Emperor was like 52. It came out. It's like, can you believe his age? And it's just, he's this old fucking, and I'm talking Emperor in episode 9 at that point, even though there's no way that it's probably 50 years since the fucking episode 1 took place, and he was already a senator. So yeah, that's a good point. How did my boy Devlin, I know he's a diehard animated series guy, how like was he on the cum meter here? Yeah, he was.
He walked in and we sit next to each other. We just locked eyes, and I was like, dude, what did you think? And he was like, I cried. I cried. Of course I cried.
Yes.
How could you not? So we talked about it for like a half an hour this morning, just gushing about every little detail in it, which is what I want to do now. So we open with a big cinematic look over the water on this cool foresty planet. They said the name of it a couple times, but I forgot already. It's the Red Forest planet. Looks fucking sick. Looks like it could be a Mortal Kombat backdrop or something. And a close-up on the destroyed map. Hera arrives at the henge. Jason and Chopper are with her, and Hu Yang is just so sad. Like the saddest robot voice I've ever heard in my life. He's like, I told them to stay together. It's always better when they stay together. I felt bad for the guy.
That is what every parent does when we're just like to the kids, like, guys, stop doing that. Just, stop pulling at the string, stop fighting each other. And then someone gets seriously hurt or two people just disappear off the face of the planet. My boy Hu Yang, he's like, I'm not even trying to dunk on him. I'm just like saying it here.
He's
like
just dead inside, kind of like disappointed.
Yeah, he's brokenhearted, man. I felt for him there. And by the way, it's the Red Forest planet. That's the name of the planet. This is the casual fan. I'm taking over as the casual fan Star Wars planet podcast right now. It's Red Forest planet. I know there's people who are screaming into their whatever podcast.
I like that. I'm trying to pull those guys to the dark side of the hardcore nerd fan. You're trying to keep them on the casual
side. It's Fastomir 7. It's the forest moon of Fastomir 7 or something. I just made up that planet name, by the way. That sounds like a Star Wars planet. By the way, this planet, the opening sequence, it looked like if you go to like a electronics store and they have the TVs and it's playing like the loop where it's showing you like the 4K HD TV and it's just like, where the fuck in the world is this? It looks awesome. That's what that looked like. It was incredibly shot, and I'm not usually like a stunning visuals guy, but I honestly think they just lifted that from like LG showing off their new HD TVs and like, let's just throw this as our new planet here.
To be honest, I don't want to disrupt the vibes this early in the podcast. It reminded me a lot of the way Rian Johnson shot Octo in The Last Jedi. He did a lot of overhead shots like that, a lot of like drone helicopter looking shots, and it was similar. I thought it was really cool too. It like begun the episode in a way where immediately I was like, oh, I could see why this is in theaters tonight. Like this feels cinematic. It feels bigger than every other episode in the series, and last episode felt pretty big as well.
It just made me want to buy a new TV, honestly. I thought it was all right, but
Anakin and Ahsoka are in the world between worlds. He tells her she looks old. We went over the age and all that. And then he tells her she lost a fight and she still has a chance because she remembers a little bit of it, but he's here to finish her training. And I thought this was so cool because I sent you the clip of Yoda fighting Dark Yoda in the Clone Wars, and that's kind of his version of like finishing his training as he has to go into this vision and fight this smoke version of himself. It's such a cool arc in the Clone Wars, but this is kind of Ahsoka's version of that. She's going back, reliving her past. It's her version of the Dagobah cave. It's an expanded new age version of that where they're making it a little weirder. The Force is getting a little zanier, but think back to A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. When Luke lifts that saber out of the snow for the first time, nobody even knew the Force could move things.
By the way, for those listening, I don't know how clear you can hear it. I think AJ is going through his own Dagobah cave right now. You hear him jumping around.
I think I heard some of it.
Yeah, I think he's going against Dark AJ, right? Or maybe it's Jedi AJ, and Darth AJ is my son. I'm not sure which one's which. Nonetheless, pay no mind. Everything's fine up there. Don't worry about it. It's like it's almost like Ahsoka took like harder drugs. Maybe or Ahsoka took like a harder version of her 3Chi, and she's getting the extreme version of Dagobah, where Luke kind of had the more mellower version. It's like, hey, this guy's still training here. Just give him a vision of Vader. His head gets chopped off. The thing pops off. He sees himself. We have to scare him a little, but we're not gonna have a whole bunch of shit like literal war coming at him. So that's the perfect way to put it, Bob. I couldn't have said it better myself.
And then she's like, what's the lesson here? And he says, the lesson is live or die. And she says, I won't fight you. And I love this. He says, I've heard that before, which is a reference to Return of the Jedi. Luke saying, I won't fight you, father. Now we kind of know this isn't like Anakin pulled from, Revenge of the Sith era. This is like Force Ghost Anakin, all knowing, knows what his future is, and him referencing his son to Ahsoka. That's so friggin' cool. And then just a sick lightsaber fight begins.
I would have loved it. He's like, yeah, my bitch ass son said that, and I almost killed his ass. And I would have killed his ass if he was.
If it weren't for those meddling kids,
meddling emperor of mine. And like you said, Shadow Warrior, and I'm like, who's Shadow Warrior? Who are we dealing with? Which, by the way, sweet ass name for an episode. Another hit there, Shadow Warrior.
Really good one, yeah. Fallen Jedi, though, it's hard to beat Fallen Jedi. That just sounds so fucking sweet.
1000%. And so we got another lightsaber fight. This one felt like an actual fight again. I think we've gotten over the rockiness with the old lightsaber fights that we said were more like dancing and performance art. I forgot about this video. I saw it somewhere recently where the I don't remember which one it is, where the guy's just doing he's just moving his arms, the lightsaber, and they're like, what the hell is this even accomplishing right here? It's from one of the prequel ones. I think
it's probably from Revenge of the Sith. The Mustafar battle has a lot of just spins where it's just like, this is useless, but it looks cool. It looks flashy.
Cardio
looks nice. Back to the henge. Carson Teva mentions Senator Organa, which is the first mention of Princess Leia in this series. And he says she can only provide backup for so long. Hera is like, I'll just pull rank and get in trouble. I don't really care. The first thing that Frank the Tank said to me about this episode, he's like, the New Republic, they're feeble. They don't know what they're doing. This is why the wars always happen. You would think we were in this galaxy and we were actually, facing the consequences of the New Republic's incompetence, as Frank would put it. But he's got a point. I got to be honest. Like, Leia, I love you, but like, you realize another threat like the Emperor is already coming in. This is only like 5 years after Return of the Jedi. And she's like, I'm sure it's fine. Just come back.
Yeah, they're good at fighting the wars. They aren't good at establishing the governments after the wars. The thing about Frank, too, like just as a Mets fan, I know this, he'll be very upset, as you guys know, about like whatever the Mets are doing. But his solution to the problem always would no doubtly make the problem 1,000 times worse. He's like, we should hire Wally Backman as manager. It's like, Frank, he'll be canceled by this time tomorrow, and there will just be a lot of LOL Met stuff. And he would have been the guy who'd been like, let's just get this war. Like in episode 1, he would have been like, let's just appoint this Palpatine. Did I say it right?
No.
Let's just put the Senator P as the Emperor, and the Emperor would have been taken over episode 1 if it was up to Frank the Tank, and he would have shut up for 5 minutes about how everything sucks right now, and then once he became the Emperor, and he's like, oh, the goddamn Empire's the worst. We need to get this guy out of there. So, Frank talking Star Wars is a lot of fun. He's another guy that I like. He's getting fired up right now. These guys are bozos. There's no way around it. It's gonna hurt how much they appear to be bozos in this show and in other shows, when in Andor we're seeing the behind the scenes, and we're like the real people who are trying to make the change, our boy Luthen and Mon Mothma, and it's like, you guys get it, but like 99% of these fucking morons you're with don't get it, and therein lies our problem.
And at this point, I love Mon Mothma. I don't need to call her out, but she's the Chancellor, and she's calling everyone back to Coruscant. After the war, is she getting a little, I don't know, like she's sitting on her ass and not really going after things as much because she's like, we won. It's all good. Is she fine with that? Is she getting content? That's the word I'm looking for.
White Sox Day would have something about liberals to talk about here if he was on the podcast, I'm sure. I'll just say this about Mon Mothma. She does strike me as someone that has had grapes hand-fed to her in her past and maybe her present. And she is getting a little lax. She has to think about all the Bothans that died to help get her those blueprints once upon a time. But I think she's kind of like, what, just because it stopped thundering doesn't mean there isn't more thunder coming, maybe even worse thunder. These guys have to get their heads out of their, and this is me screaming into a microphone, knowing that like we've seen what happens to them. They fucking get washed over by the First Order. So it is what it is. But yeah, absolute bozos. It kind of like it's like real government. And again, I'm not here to talk politics. Yeah. Both sides, fucking morons, and they never fix anything. So kind of nice in Star Wars. It's like even in a galaxy far, far away, everyone just completely fucks up.
It's good for us. We know there's always going to be wars in that galaxy far, far away. There's always going to be content for us to cover on this podcast for the next 300 episodes. Jason can faintly hear the lightsaber battle through the Force. He hears the waves, and then he's like, I think I hear a little bit more. He calls Hera over, tells her, and she believes him right away. She knows he's got a little, touch of the Force in him. So she goes back out there. Carson Teva is like, what the fuck is going on? Why is she listening to that kid? I love this moment in the episode where Hu Yang is like, his father is Kanan Jarrus, a former Jedi master. He has the Force too. And Carson Teva is everyone who did not watch Rebels, and he just goes, yeah, all right. And he just walks away. He's like, yeah, that cool. Thanks for the backstory, man.
They say Jason is special or something. Is that what the line that Hu Yang drops?
They might have said something like that,
touched or something. Like it almost feels like he's on the spectrum. You say it's like he sees stuff a different way, and that's how they present it. It was very cool. They mixed the oceans with the lightsabers, and then you could hear it as they were going.
I thought that was cool.
I've been thinking of this for also like 3 episodes now, and after this episode, I'm just going to come out and say it. And listen. You can shame me, you can mock me, you can do whatever you want. Our girl Hera, the way they shoot her.
I know what you're going to say. They do. They shoot her from behind. They do.
And every time I see her, you know what I say? And this is the God's honest. I don't think this word ever. I just go, she's got a dumper. I think that she's just got a big old dumper there, man. And it's a good thing.
She's dragging a wagon. She is, yeah.
And that's how you land yourself an Obi-Wan, right? Like that's his wife in real life, right? And that,
but I knew what you were going to say before you said it, because like it's a bit gratuitous, and Star Wars never has these shots, but I'm not complaining, but they're just shooting her from behind constantly in this show.
She's kind of walking like she knows she has it too. And I mean, shit, if I had something like that, I'd probably do the same. My wife actually says I have a small butt. For a big guy, she says I have a very small butt. Maybe if I had a little more, I could kind of, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have a Hank Hill butt. God damn it. But she got a dumper. And I'm telling you, now that the glass is shattered, for people that go back and watch, or I'm telling you, I guarantee it, you're going to see it in the next episode. They're just going to shoot her from behind, and it's just going to be like, boom, 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 boom. And again, Obi-Wan never broke his vows until he saw that thing, and then he's like put the ring on it, and he got out of that cave real quickly.
Yeah, like, what am I doing with the fucking lightsaber? He threw it over his shoulder like Luke in The Last Jedi. He was done with that thing. Back to the fight. Anakin is kind of like talking shit.
After the dumper talk, we're going back to the fight now.
Back to the fight. Anakin and Ahsoka kind of like talking shit in a friendly way, where she's like, you don't have much more to teach me. And he's like, you don't know everything yet. Slashes the floor of the world between worlds, and she falls into an old memory. Right away, as she stands up, you can kind of tell, oh, this looks like a kid. It looks like young Ahsoka. We're getting a flashback to the Clone Wars. And right away, like you said, I think it looks animated. Like the way they shot her silhouette at first, it could have been a scene out of the Clone Wars. She is literally a child. And I think this episode accentuated that for a lot of people, where it's like, oh my God, in the cartoon, she's just like an alien. And she's a kid, but she's fun, and she's laughing with Anakin and Snips and all that. In this, they play it a lot harsher and a lot more like, this is why she is the way she is. She was traumatized as a kid because she was a child soldier. And the girl playing her is the same girl that was recently in Barbie, that plays America Ferrera's daughter. And for this podcast, you may know her as young Gamora. What a friggin' 1-2 punch. Young Gamora, young Ahsoka. Pretty badass.
So for all the haters out there about Clem doesn't watch enough Star Wars, this is me patting myself on the back. I have it in my notes right here. I'm getting big Gamora vibes from this kid. And I thought it was just a matter of her being raised in war, kind of having that like vicious side. But if you look really deep, you can tell this is probably affecting me. I think the older Gamora, by the time we see her, she is so like numbed everything. You're raised as Thanos' daughter, that's going to happen. But when it's that little kid and he's, slaughtering her half her race, and he's, balanced as all things should be, I was like, this reminds me of it. Turns out it's the same girl, which I had no clue that girl, again, we saw Barbie together, we saw Barbenheimer, was there back in the day, and now she's all grown up. So that was very cool, and obviously like a happy coincidence kind of. I wonder
how you knew it wasn't a happy coincidence.
How?
It was the Force.
It was the Force. That's right. That's the other thing. I'm Force sensitive. People don't realize that. He's special too. That's we hear somebody that said that kid Clem special over there. They're saying I have the Force. They're not saying I'm a professional idiot or anything like that.
No, they would never.
I also had to do it to him. Had to do it, and it's not really saying much. Just because our boy Anakin's saying Snips, he's on the sus list. He was on the sus list instantly. I think we all knew that he was going to. We all know he becomes Darth Vader, but it was like, I'm not buying this Snip shit. But get that away from me. But everything about it felt like a cartoon, and I don't know how to really explain it. I think anyone that watched the cartoons agrees it just was shot the way, or maybe it's just very, very Rebelsy. The other thing they didn't do, is like Darth Vader, his mask is shaped different in the cartoon, and almost felt like that was going to be the case in this show just because everything else was so identical to it all.
In the cartoon, it's more like the original concept art, the Ralph McQuarrie concept art, where it's a little more like stylized. He has a little more of a brow, like an anger in his face. But I loved just seeing Anakin with his Clone Wars haircut in the Clone Wars armor, something we never thought we would see. I was really in the Obi-Wan show asking for a Clone Wars era flashback so we could see that, so we could see him and Anakin in the Clone Wars. Because for me, the best two things the Clone Wars ever did were, one, establishing that the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan was worthy of the heartbreak and Revenge of the Sith. Like, they really, truly made them feel like brothers and friends. And then two is making the clones feel like actual people, like making you feel for these basically faceless clones. And this episode kind of hit on both points there, where not with the Anakin Obi-Wan thing necessarily, but with Anakin and Ahsoka here, where it's showing you their relationship, their master-apprentice relationship. And then later on with Ahsoka, showing she had the feelings for the clones. And that one scene, I think me and Devlin said, skipping ahead a little bit, obviously, with the clones is the most I've ever felt for the clones. Like being like, oh shit, they're being carted off the battlefield. There's bodies going, and Anakin and Ahsoka are like, all right, on to the next battle, pretty much. Like crazy shit that they did with just short little flashback scenes. I think each flashback scene was probably like 5 minutes, if that.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like they're going against a droid army, and hey, as much as we love our droids, it is literally just robots, and these poor fucking guys are just getting just shot up and fucking mutilated and experiencing the horrors of war. And it is like, it just seems so goddamn unfair. And it's, and like you said, a kid growing up in the wars, and this is coming from someone who watched, like, honestly, like 20 hours of World War II content just by coincidence, like a week straight. It was kind of nice to actually see a more warsy Star Wars, because all the other Star Wars things, for the most part, especially the early ones, stormtroopers don't hit anything. They get shot, they kind of fall over. They're like disposable characters. They're like the foot soldiers in Ninja Turtles. You don't really think about them. None of the heroes ever really get hurt. If they get like glanced with a laser, it's like and that's it. This is like the fucking mental side of shit. This is like the people who are going through the recovery of everything. That was one of my favorite things. And just like running into the unknown and being like, I don't know what the fuck's out there. Just a bunch of robots that are just shooting lasers at me blindly. And kind of just seeing Anakin being badass. I loved it. And again, I don't have the whole Rebels and Clone Wars side of things, but I'm someone that loves Star Wars, and I want so much more Anakin. That's basically, this is the drug for Anakin. I just got my hit, and now I'm going to need more and more and more.
I would also love to know what, and I'm sure we'll get like one of those gallery specials, but what the conversations were like between Hayden Christensen and Dave Filoni in terms of, did he tell him to play Anakin more like Anakin was in the Clone Wars, a little more upbeat and friendly and stuff? Did he tell him, hey, go back and watch these specific episodes? This is how I want you to play Anakin. I'd be fascinated to see that. I also love what you said, where they're running off into the unknown and there's just complete dust and dirt and things being kicked up. Those were some of the best shots in Attack of the Clones, and they looked so good here. The way they played with the lighting and stuff. Dave Filoni is not a very experienced live action director. He's been doing cartoon stuff forever, but he's only really done a couple episodes of Mando and stuff. So I thought he really flexed on everyone with this entire episode.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, go ahead.
Like, again, kind of going back to like the other war stuff I have been watching, again, never been lucky enough never to actually experience war myself, but in a lot of times in Star Wars, or a lot of like sci-fi space things, content, it's like, all right, these two factions are here, we're battling, and then we go our separate ways. It's like war. It's like, we're taking over this point, then we got to take over. Like, there's no like battle. Like a lot of times I think in the movies and stuff, it's like, this is the huge battle with all these ships or whatever, and then we all go home. Where it's like, no, we're clawing our way for like to get a half a mile of turf. And that's what it felt like these people were doing. And that's the kind of shit that probably like fucks with Anakin. It fucks with Ahsoka. And I'll tell you what, the Ahsoka stuff, it really hammers home. Fuck the Jedi, man. They just threw her ass, and God knows how other many people Jedi's ass into this shit. And I know like the Emperor. I'm just trying not to say his name and get embarrassed. I know he was playing everyone like puppets on both sides and keeping it going, but at some point you thought the Jedi, the adults in the building, would have figured out a way to get it all done, and they completely just boned it. The Jedi suck. Too long didn't watch, too long didn't read. The Jedi suck. Fuck them. I hate them.
I mean, this episode, you see a child soldier on the battlefield like that, you got to ask, is Yoda Coney? Basically, he's very similar. He's putting children out on the bat. It's not right what they're doing there. And you could see it in Ahsoka's face. She's devastated to see these clones being carted off because she's like, I gave them their orders. She's literally their leader. She sent them into the battle to die, and she's just looking at them. Anakin's ready for the next battle. He's like, come on, we got to get onto the next battlefield. There's ships here. This is going on. She's like, but aren't you like upset? He's trying to crack jokes still. Anakin, I think, went into this war in a time where he needed to get some fucking aggression out. Ahsoka, like she says to Anakin, was not trained to be a soldier. She wanted to be a keeper of the peace. And I loved that dialogue because it shows you where the Jedi went wrong, which obviously is becoming soldiers and just becoming these like, all right, I guess we're fighting for the Republic now. Great conversation between them, though. And she says, what will happen if I stop fighting? He says, then you'll die. And he walks off into that abyss, and we get the first amazing shot where it flashes a quick Darth Vader. You see his blue lightsaber become red. You see the silhouette become much wider into the Vader costume. Chills instantly. Like one of the coolest shots, I'll go out on a limb and say, that Disney has ever done. Post the original 6, I think that's one of the coolest quick Star Wars shots. And we get another quick Vader shot later on. That one's just as cool.
Vader always plays. I mean, I almost get scared of saying that because it's like, I don't want to Tatooine Vader, and then we're just going to have nothing but Vader cuts for like the next 3 years or something like that. But Vader always plays, man. He's cool as fuck. And I mean, even the lightsaber changing is just such a cool ass character. Yeah, so I'm with you on all that.
Now, you mentioned at the beginning of this episode that sometimes on TikTok, it's leaning into the dark side is what gets our stuff to go off. If everyone would bear with me now, I'd like to lean into the dark side of TikTok, and I'd like to just workshop a TikTok on the show live. I'm going to just give it a take or two, and I'm going to cut this down into a TikTok that hopefully goes off for people roasting me for being, obvious about this. One thing you might not have noticed in this week's episode of Ahsoka, Anakin actually turns into Darth Vader at 2 points during the episode. Why? Because later on in the series, small Easter egg, Anakin Skywalker actually becomes Darth Vader. Subscribe for more mind-blowing Star Wars facts like this one. So how about that? Maybe something like that, and people will say, this fucking idiot, we know Anakin. It's one of those where maybe it could go off, maybe it won't, but workshop it live on the show.
Maybe the guy who was roasting you for never seeing the animated episodes will think you only saw the animated episodes or only saw like, the sequel trilogy or something. You don't even know who the fuck Anakin Skywalker is.
Yeah.
It could be crazy.
No idea.
Just learned that. And I love the little peek behind the scenes. That's content, baby. That's how Barstool Sports got to the size it is. Just those kind of takes and content live. I'm fucking genius at work. Masterclass by Robbie Fox. A TikTok masterclass. Let me put a bullet in my fucking brain for using those two words together.
Hey, speaking of master classes, you want to get a master class in cheap seats to concerts, shows, and more? Why don't you hit up Game Time, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, created by fans for fans. Game Time is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets. They guarantee the lowest price as well. You've got football back. Drake and 21 Savage are on tour. Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs. Festival season is still going on. The last festivals of fall are still happening. All of these events would be possible to get tickets to with Game Time. The last-minute price drops on that app are found on seats you never thought you could buy. They'll even credit you 110% of the seat price if you could find a better deal elsewhere. They'll pay you to basically have that. It's amazing. Limited time discounts with flash deals as well. The purchase process just takes 2 taps and 10 seconds. Once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone. No printer needed. The app also allows you to easily share tickets with friends via text, so you can get into the game seamlessly. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. Download the Game Time app or go to their website, enter your email, and redeem code MMB for $20 off your first purchase. Not to rub any salt in the wounds, maybe don't buy Giants tickets, maybe buy Commanders tickets, because the Commanders 1-0, looking pretty good. Giants, they lost 40-0.
Did they? I didn't even know it. I didn't have to do a whole live stream and just slowly bleed out on the stream yet again with everyone. That was awesome. I thought you were going to say maybe don't get Aerosmith tickets because Steven Tyler is missing like 6 shows. And I'm like, well, I had plans to go to the Aerosmith show in December with Game Time. So I was like,
is he really missing shows?
I think he missed, they said vocal cords, some vocal cords.
What do you mean missed show? You can't do the show without Steven Tyler.
Like they're delayed, canceled, postponed, whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry. So
gotcha.
Yeah,
I thought they trotted someone else out. Like Joe Perry can't sing these songs. I love Joe Perry, but
yeah, that would be amazing. Like that's
someone trying Dream On is you don't want anyone with Steven Tyler trying that.
He has to be like top 3, like irreplaceable, just because of his unique sound in terms of for a band, right? So yeah, that would be replacing Steven Tyler tonight will be the guy in the 3rd row. Hey, maybe Game Time could get up with something like that. That would be nice. Game Time is essentially the Qui-Gon. I'm going to say like Robbie, they're the Qui-Gon of tickets, where they take care of you. They are the master and you're the apprentice, and they take care of you the right way. If Qui-Gon was still alive, Anakin doesn't turn. I'm convinced of this take. I will go to my grave with that take. So Game Time, they get you there safely.
Now the ghost is out looking for Ahsoka. Quick scene where Hera is asking Hu Yang what Anakin was like, and he's just like, he was intense. That's the only word he could use to describe Anakin. We get more flashbacks. We flash back to the Siege of Mandalore here, which I shouted out right away. I saw that outfit Ahsoka was wearing. Turned to my girlfriend. I was like, this is the fucking Siege of Mandalore. 2 seconds later, they said, I was like, you fucking see, it was the Siege of Mandalore. We see some Maul Mandos, these like commando Mandalorians that were at the time under the rule of Darth Maul because he had the Darksaber. But at this Siege of Mandalore, Ahsoka goes and battles him. It's fucking badass. It's in the last season of the Clone Wars. Some of the best stuff they've ever put out. You see some of the Ahsoka painted clones in the background. You see Captain Rex, one of her favorite clones. I would say her favorite clone, the one she had the closest relationship with. And Anakin is like, I don't know this battle. And it's because this battle is going on during Revenge of the Sith. So they've separated. They've gone their separate ways. And Ahsoka's a little pissed about that. She's like, yeah, because you weren't with me during this. You know, I needed you. You weren't there. He reassures her, like, you're part of this legacy. You realize, like, we all have this legacy. You're part of it, which I liked because a lot of Star Wars fans for years were trying to say Ahsoka, like, actually wasn't. Like the first few years of the Clone Wars, Ahsoka was hated because people were like, there's no way we could buy that Anakin had an apprentice that was never mentioned in any of the movies, which I also felt the same way about for a little while. And then it just became so good that I was like, I would rather just believe that he did. It's a cooler story if he did, I think. So I think them saying you're a part of this and hammering home, her being like, my legacy is death and destruction, and then being like, no, it's more than that. You're a part of the story. Was very nice. Almost Guardians 3-esque, and Lila telling Rocket, this is your story. It's been your story all along. That was nice.
I like that. So the Siege of Mandalore, I'm just like, oh shit, are we getting the TIE bombers bombing the shit out of everything? This went over. Yep. This went way over
the Purge.
My head. Yes. This went over my head. The Mandalorian stuff, the Maulians, and that's why they have the horns coming out of their helmets and shit like that. That's some cool ass stuff. I fucking dig it. Unfortunately, actually kind of looks like the Magneto helmet here, right? It kind of has like the little horns on the top. So that one I definitely, there's plenty of stuff that I'm not getting as a Rebels watcher or whatever you want to call it. The Rex stuff, missed that too. That's fucking sweet. So Heavy Spoilers said it too. They have different titles. Like the guys have different titles as they're jumping through the flashbacks, which I mean, like Filoni, when Filoni's doing shit for now, like every time he's doing an episode, I'm gonna be like, the little things will be taken care of. You know, it's kind of like when now Portnoy's back on the blog, and I'm like, Portnoy's running a blog. I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna have everything you want in terms of it's gonna be vicious, it's gonna be funny, and it's gonna give you the thoughts straight from the brain to the mouth to the fingers. It's gonna be good.
Now, I loved this episode as much as everyone else did, so this is why I'm asking this question, just putting it out there to the universe. Not like this is a question you could necessarily answer. But Feidelberg had a great tweet about football this weekend where he's like, why not just run the rush offense all the time? If you need points, why not just get points? 90% of the time, if a team needs points, they get points. I kind of feel that way about Ahsoka. Like, if this is what Dave Filoni can do when he's writing and directing, Why are we not running the episode 5 play every week? Why is this not just the Dave Filoni written and directed show where you're doing this every fucking week? Can we not do this every week? Can you not afford Hayden Christensen every week? What else is he doing?
So, how do I say this without getting in trouble? Not with you, not with Barstool, or I'm just saying to the listeners. I think that's what I was expecting when I got Ahsoka. When I was like, oh boy, Clem, wait till you meet Ahsoka here. You're going to get to know her. And I was expecting a little more. And I don't even know if it's possible from episode 1 to 5. It's like at some point you have to establish the run. You have to do this and that, or else you can. I understand all that kind of stuff. But I did. I guess it's what I want from every show. It's very rare you get shows like that. Again, I go back to when I remember like Breaking Bad. If you watch the first episode, it's just he wakes up, it's fucking chaos. He sees dead bodies on the ground, and then you're like, oh boy, we're in for a ride. Same thing happened, I remember, with The Departed. Once I got out of The Departed, I was like, oh shit, that was a fucking ride, man. Like you feel like you literally Endgame, same kind of thing. It's like you just went on this ride. And I know episodic TV is much different, but it's like the same kind of feeling I would like. So that's a good take right there. Kind of just let's run the 2-minute offense and get some fucking points here. It's up to Filoni, man. I guess trust the Filoni forever and a day, but that is a fair point by Feidelberg, translated by Robbie into Star Wars language.
Yeah. So as they're talking about legacies, she mentions that there's a lot of pain and suffering in his legacy, what he would go on to be. And Hayden flips a switch. And it's awesome how he flips this switch where he goes from, oh, this is so cool, it's Master and Apprentice, and he's saying snips, to, oh, this is Darth Vader, and you should be afraid of this man. And he's like, oh, is this what that's about? Fucking hits the lightsaber, and it's red. And it's just like, oh, here we go. And they have another fight, and he force pushes her back into the world between worlds. So young Ahsoka becomes Rosario Dawson Ahsoka, the one that we know. Another amazing Vader shot of him flashing back and forth between Vader. He has Sith eyes, and she steals the lightsaber from him, and she like gets Sith eyes for a quick second, but she throws the lightsaber away when she's defeated him, proving that she is not going down the same path he is. Even though, yes, they had paths that aligned throughout the Clone Wars that maybe had some death and destruction in their legacy. He went one way and she's going the complete opposite. She says, I'm not killing you. And he says, there's hope for you yet. And then kind of disappears like Batman and Commissioner Gordon. And the whole world between worlds fills with water. Ahsoka's rescued. The little Easter egg, the guy who rescues Ahsoka is the main body actor for The Mandalorian. So Pedro Pascal is usually doing the voice. The guy who rescues Ahsoka is usually in the suit. And she wakes up the next day on the ship. Got to say this. Didn't like seeing her without a headpiece. Weird. That was strange. I was like, put some clothes on.
Yeah, she was there. There was something just off about it, right? There was something just odd about it.
Like seeing a professional wrestler without knee pads. It looks like they're naked. And it's like, I know you're not, but like it. Just put some knee pads on.
It doesn't feel right. Yeah, it's like I remember when Patrick Ewing like didn't wear his knee pads if he like would come out early or something. You're just like, what the fuck? There's something just wrong here with this picture. Yeah, that's a great call. If you like Photoshop the eyebrows off of somebody, at first you don't notice it, and then you're like, wait, there's something that's completely afoot. Something afoot with this matter. The whole Darth Vader thing was just so cool, and it kind of like shows that Anakin the Good did some pretty good by raising an apprentice the way he did, especially an apprentice that was raised in war, essentially. I also think I have to come to grips with, I never really, I don't blame Anakin as much as I should, or as much as other people do, I should say, because again, he had a bunch of old bumbling fools in charge of his training. Again, some of that was like Qui-Gon falling down, becoming the only man to ever die from a lightsaber through the fucking gut. So that was just a bad break for them, I suppose.
Don't say gut. It went through his spinal cord, as the TikTok physicians have showed us. Yeah.
But it's like, if you were born and you had nothing but sand and you were a slave and your mom was raped and murdered by sand people, some rage might fill your heart. And then you're just thrown into war and basically these fucking pacifist puppet who completely bungle everything every turn. He gets a pass in my book. The youngling stuff I can't get past. Other than that, though, and that was the thing. I was like, is he going to try to murder young Ahsoka? I'm like, we can't keep doing this, Anakin. You have a fucking problem, dude.
No, she was too old at that point. She needed to be like 10 years even younger.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh God, it's like Leo DiCaprio. It's like, oh, she's almost a teenager by this point. I can't murder her. The eye shit was cool though. Like that was
Yeah.
like oh boy, we have it coming right now. So you like Dave said with the red lightsaber, you throw that red, even though red lightsabers are giving out like Halloween candy now. Back in the day, back in my day, the red lightsaber used to mean something. So it's just nice to see it back there. And the Anakin's old blue lightsaber, man, that still plays. That still plays.
Yeah.
And the fact
I
Luke
mean,
had
boom,
it.
there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
That's
there
the one.
It is.
I wanted to read this post from Star Wars Reddit that I just thought put things very clearly and in a great way. The post is from user the Jawa. Ahsoka became a shell of herself. This is about the lesson that she was taught.
Right.
Ahsoka became a shell of herself. She wasn't the snips that Anakin had trained anymore. He was bringing her back around to being herself. She had become so afraid of becoming Anakin that she no longer trusted herself, fearing that she'd become just like him. But she proved to herself that not striking him down at the end, she was not like him. Even with him attempting to force her into it and strike him down like you have to do it to survive, her legacy is her own, even if part of it includes Anakin's legacy. The battle on Ryloth shows that she had a ton of compassion and desire, not just to be a warrior. By the siege of Mandalore, her separation from Anakin, she had become nothing more than a warrior, like she didn't want to be. She had learned the wrong lesson from Anakin at that point, that you just needed to be just a warrior, and it's not who she was. So the whole part of him teaching her a lesson, and what is that lesson? It's become the person you used to be and try some crazy shit. And later on in the episode, she tries some crazy shit. That is a classic Anakin Skywalker Clone Wars-esque move. So I feel like the lesson stuck and it worked with her. Hu Yang wakes her up, though, on the ship, and he's like, you have Jason to thank. You've been asleep a full day. They still haven't found Sabine yet, though. We were hoping you would tell us what happened to Sabine. She doesn't know, but she goes and gets some Force memories from the ball, which is something she's done before. She did it with Grogu. That was the first time we got some backstory with Grogu. Right. She held him, and we saw some of Order 66. And she kind of gets the whole scene. It's kind of a cheap way to like, oh, yeah, she knows what happened last week, but I'm totally okay with it because they've kind of established she could do it already.
So when she was doing that, and I hadn't looked at how much time was left, I go, all right, here we go. We had our big Anakin moment. That was awesome. This episode, this is movie theater quality we're dealing with here. And I was like, we're meeting Thrawn this episode. I was like, they just fucking yada, yada. They yada, all the nonsense. She wasn't doing fucking Batman doing all the fingerprinting and trying to figure everything out. She just fast forwarded. I'm like, let's go. And then I'm thinking, we're going to get 10 out of 10 from even the idiots like me that don't know anything about Rebels, because I'm just going to be drinking up all your guys' memories and, you know, what's the word where they say
absorbing
I'm stealing your valor essentially by just enjoying the shit out of stuff I barely understand, right? So unfortunately that didn't happen, but I was fine with it too for that reason. I'm like, honestly at this point, this was episode 5, right?
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of time left, and we have to meet this guy, have to make him do something. I know he's probably going to be the big guy for like season 2, I would imagine, but this is the reason why I almost wish, like you said, the 2-minute offense, if we had run that, Thrawn would be here episode 3, maybe 4. And now it's episode 6, and we're going to probably meet him then. So I'm with you on that. Just fucking yada yada that shit, and let's keep moving.
Now, EveryPlate. Let's tell the people about EveryPlate. Hoping to budget your food expenses this fall? Get more bang for your bite with America's best value meal kit. EveryPlate is 25% cheaper than grocery shopping with no hidden fees, so you can count on great value week after week. Plus, only pay for what you need with pre-portioned ingredients. Balancing your busy to-do list for this fall? Get EveryPlate and take back your time with fewer trips to the grocery store and meals ready in 6 simple steps. We made this stuff recently. It was awesome. Super delicious, super simple to make. Great burgers. Choose EveryPlate over takeout to save money while still enjoying fresh, satisfying meals. Their meals are 50% cheaper than your average fast casual meal, and they're probably the easiest way to eat affordably. Put the money you save towards making some fall plans instead of just putting it all towards takeout and grocery store stuff. With 26 tasty and affordable recipes that change every week, it's easy to find something flavorful and satisfying for every meal of the day. Plus, add even more delicious options to your order with up to 22 convenient sides, lunches, snacks, desserts, and more. Get $1.49 per meal by going to everyplate.com/podcast and then entering the code 49basement. So again, go to everyplate.com/podcast and then enter the code 49basement. All of your meals are going to be $1.49. You can't beat that. You could ration an entire Jedi Order on that.
This is very important to us too, to get this. This is the perfect time for us because we went away for like a week or a couple days in August, and we were eating out every single night. It's a ton of money. It's just horrible for you. And then by the time it's all said and done, you're back at the house and then school starting. Everyone's not in the mix yet. So you're just like, all right, just grab a pizza on the way home. And you're just eating this junk. You're spending God knows how much money. You're spending 50 plus a pop. Kids, I'm getting chicken fingers every single night. Chicken fingers for lunch, chicken fingers for dinner. The kids with chicken fingers coming out of their eyeballs now. This place has family-friendly meals. So family-friendly dinners for picky eaters, kids-approved dinners. This is what we need in the basement right now. I think you have your leftovers in the basement when you're watching your assault. I'm going back and rewatching all the flashback scenes after we're done with this pod because it got me excited. So you get your leftovers, you eat your meals, and you save some money and eat good.
Now, the little outro for this episode, I call it an outro because it kind of feels like after the Anakin stuff, like the big chunk of it is done. The rest of it's a bit of an epilogue and preview for next week. Also, we see Ahsoka when she comes out, she's wearing all the white gear. People are calling her Ahsoka the White, like Gandalf the White. And saying, you know, she comes out in that in Rebels, but they kind of like retconned that and made it like this is what it took her to become that. I like the idea that she is like a more powerful version of herself now that she's finished her training with her master in whatever realm that was, or universe or galaxy, whatever it may have been. Her outfit is also badass. Like she has arm wraps that remind me a little bit of Rey, which I always thought was a cool character trait for Rey, that her arms were like wrapped up almost like CM Punk, like a wrestler style. Really cool new outfit for Ahsoka. The hood is also such a cool part of her. The hood over the Togruta horns. Love that.
I would have loved it if like she's like, they're like, Ahsoka, like, are you Ahsoka the White now? Or like, what's going on here? And she's like, nah, like my deal with Nike expired. I'm Under Armour now. And they gave me a whole new like wardrobe. The Air Ahsoka ones are coming out next month. Yep. So we're doing a hard reboot here. It's like,
or all right, that's nice. The complete opposite direction. If she's like, it's laundry day. No.
It's laundry day. Yeah. She's like, I get blood on this white stuff all the time. So I try not to wear, anything I get any shirt that I get that's white, usually it's like something through Barstool, it's for free or something. I just tie dye it because I'm like, I'm going to destroy it if it's not tie dyed. So I just tie dye it.
I don't have a lot of white stuff because of that. I'm constantly getting, ketchup, nacho cheese, whatever it could be, blood from my finger. I freaking cut my finger on a straw the other day, got it all over my base. It was a whole thing.
A straw?
It was a plastic straw. I dropped my drink. I tried to catch it, and the plastic straw sliced my finger open right before we were about to play. It was a conundrum. But
Bob, don't be saying that was over EveryPlate on the pod. But if this guy can get a straw, how are we going to have him push some food for people?
My point is, all of my clothing is black, so when we do laundry, it looks like I'm a Hot Topic employee. Like it's just like a sea of black. It's crazy. Mon Mothma tells Hera that she and Ahsoka must return to Coruscant. She's like, I could only hold the Senate off for so long. They're voting on whether or not you should be permanently suspended at this point. Which means is like, what does permanently suspended mean? That means expelled. That's fired. That's not a real thing. Permanently suspended. That's an oxymoron. But again, like Tank said, the New Republic doesn't even know what they're doing. Ahsoka sees some Purgles flying up above, though, and she gets an idea. Like I said, this is an Anakin Skywalker idea through and through. During the Clone Wars, from the first movie they made through the final season, he would constantly win battles by doing the craziest, most brash, outside-the-box idea. Almost in that Poe Dameron way, where Poe Dameron was getting yelled at because he constantly wanted to, like, let's just fucking kill everyone. Anakin was kind of that person, but it usually worked out for Anakin. So Ahsoka's like, fuck it. I think it's going to work out for us. They fly up into the pack of Purgles. They find the leader of the pack. and she steps out onto the wing of her ship and she communicates with it through the Force and basically hitches a ride. So they friggin' fly their ship into the mouth of a Purrgil. Tiva goes up. He's trying to buy time with the fleet because they're like, Ahsoka's got to fucking, they're kind of trying to arrest her. He's like, they're not here to help, but they weren't there to fight. So I was like, I think they're just going to detain her or bring her back, just yell at her. I don't know. They didn't really make that clear.
They were basically the fuck around and find out guy, but they weren't interested in doing either. That's how I see it. By the way, Hera, right? Hera's her name?
Yeah.
She shouldn't be worried about getting arrested or expelled or anything. She should be worried about Child Protective Services coming and taking her goddamn son away. If he's special or not special, he should not be in these like active fucking battle zones with known Sith adjacent people, I guess we could have called them, because obviously they're not Sith or full blown. I'm not even going to try to figure out all that kind of nonsense. But I don't care what this kid's fucking baby is. This guy's Yoda himself. The guy is still like fucking like. Mando doesn't just throw Baby Yoda into the mix, even though he can move some pebbles with his brain and occasionally take down a beast.
That being said, she does make the good call to be like, all right, I can't bring him to the other galaxy. I can't fly this kid into the mouth of a fucking space whale and go into hyperspace. She's like, Ahsoka's like, sorry, you can't come for the trip. She's like, yeah, Jason can't go to another fucking galaxy.
Well, that's my point. I think he can. She was just like, here, boy, go sniff around and like figure out where Ahsoka is. And he did it. He fucking did it. So
true.
Send him in the space whale. We'd have Ezra back by the end of the episode, Thrawn be dead, and we'd be fucking running the credits. Instead, I'm telling you, this is bad. This is very bad. Ahsoka's going to be, Ahsoka is almost like so chill now, though. Might be the all whites. I will say this, and you know it too. When you do wear the white, you feel fucking good. Look good, feel good, play good. She's in look good, feel good, play good mode. And she's just like, I think it's going to work out. I think I kind of talked to the whale in Force language, maybe not, but we'll see what happens. And I kind of respect it. We're just going along for the ride at this point. Definitely, like, the space whale doesn't get any less weird to me. Has it gotten any less weird to you now that you've had it for years in your life?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel used to the space whales. I feel like I could probably hitch a ride with them if I needed to.
I was over it, and I thought I had gotten there, and then I saw like a hyperdrive engine boot up in its mouth, and I'm like, "Yep, I'm back to square one now."
That's the thing; weird. It has the rings, and I didn't know if they were gonna ever show that, because in the cartoon, that's the most cartoonish thing that they have, and I didn't think that they would incorporate that. I actually thought it was kind of cool. I also love the way they shot it when they came out of, I guess, the atmosphere and into space. And they're like, "You're gonna want to fucking get that fleet out of the way, Commander." All of the pilots looking at them just with this like fascination of, oh my God, what you would look at a dinosaur like, basically. I thought that was really cool. Seeing the shadows come over their ships and everything that they would cast. Really cool stuff. And she gets like a "May the Force be with you," fucking hyperspace, we're off. It's a cool way to show, oh, how could we get there? Well, the only way, the original hyperspace route mappers. And I love Ahsoka's line too, where Huyang's like, we don't even know where we're going. We could be going anywhere. She's like, it's better than going nowhere. It's like, that doesn't even, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's rational. He must be like, he's like C-3PO, like the odds of this.
25,000 years. He ain't fucking built for this kind of game, right? He's looking to retire, get out of this shit. I like that line. That was a good line. A little bit of like an old sage line, a line your dad drops in. You're like, oh, fuck, that's actually kind of smart. He has a little bit of sage wisdom to him still after it's all said and done. But yeah, it's you said it though. I like seeing the wonder in the Star Wars characters' eyes, who are all aliens or whatever in this world, and they're still just like, what the fuck is a flying whale doing here right now? That was pretty cool. And even though we had seen it in the previous episode or 2 episodes when Smoke Boy, that fucking fraud, even he was amazed by it. That big old fart.
That was the episode, though. They got to, "May the Force be with you." Credits next week. Hopefully Thrawn. I would be shocked if we didn't get Thrawn. I'm hoping we get him for more than just like an end of episode tease as well. Something I found interesting on Twitter today was that there's that one shot of Thrawn in the trailer that we've already seen. That's the only shot that from the trailer that we haven't actually seen in the series so far.
Oh, wow.
So really? It's the first time since Mandalorian season 2 that they've held out 100% of the footage from the final 2 episodes. Makes me think we're going to get a lot of cool stuff. Probably a lot of Thrawn and Ezra, the 2 people that you wouldn't want to show in the trailer.
So wait, How there's 2 episodes left?
There's 3 left, but
Oh.
the final 2 are the ones that we know will probably have footage we've never seen. You would think the one shot of Thrawn will be next week.
Okay. I was about to say, I was like, if we have 2 left, we have a real problem. 3, I'm even feel like we're going to go 2-minute offense here. It's going to be nothing but the hits, nothing but the hits, nothing but the motherfucker.
3 I'm okay with. 3,
Yeah,
I feel like Andor did some great arcs with 3, where I'm treating this final 3 as its own arc, kind of.
That would be pretty cool if like Star Wars, like remember how Game of Thrones was like once you hit the penultimate, you have some crazy shit, and the finale still has some really good stuff. If Star Wars, if they just follow the Andor arc where it's like a holy
the final
shit.
trilogy, quote unquote, like that
would be very cool. One thing that I'm hoping to see in the final 3 episodes, and I'll be honest, not too happy with you and some people on Twitter.
Oh.
Am I going to see Chopper murder some motherfuckers here? Because this guy...
I knew that was coming.
He's a babysitter. The guy is a fucking R2-D2 light babysitter right now.
It's tough. All he's done is put the tracker on, which was great. When he put the tracker on the little hyperspace thing, they found the Eye of Sign. That was a cool scene. He flexed on him, but that's all he's done.
He also said he wanted to like murder everyone. He's like, just drop the thing here. It's fine.
He wanted to bomb him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do need to see like the best Chopper kills are the ones where like someone's standing too close to a barrier and there's no railings. Cause of course there's no railings. It's Star Wars. He just like bumps him over. He has no remorse. He's just boom, hits him with his butt. Like we need to see one of those for sure before the end of the series.
Cold-blooded
Imagine
Chopper.
He kills like Shin or something. Imagine Shin gets too feisty with Sabine and Chopper just fucking electrocutes her.
Or Chopper, give a little slap in that dumper there, maybe, get a little sassy with him. He's a droid. He can do whatever the heck. Like, I don't think he can do whatever.
Chopper can't get canceled, right?
He can't cancel a droid, right? And then I have one prediction here. By the end of this season, Ahsoka's going to say something like, see you, Sky Guy. And that's going to be like a goodbye. And I know of the Sky Guy and Snips, right? Those are look at this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Who's the fucking Rebels expert? This guy's a Rebel expert. I'm the captain now.
Yeah, no, me. I haven't watched the cartoon to save my life.
Look at this guy. He doesn't look like. By the way, who the fuck looks at Robbie Fox and go, that guy's never watched an animated series before? What? Unless he was talking about Dave, I don't understand. Like, no, because
it was a clip from weeks ago before Dave even made his first appearance in the basement.
There is more of a case for someone to say this guy has only watched animated series and has never seen a live action show in his life. Yes. That makes no sense looking back.
Yeah. Strange chirp, but I always like the strange ones. The strange ones make me laugh. The ones that are so out there where you're like, what are you talking about? Is that your way of being like, fuck you, dude? You've never watched a fucking cartoon. Like, what?
Star Wars fans are a weird group, man. We know that, man. The hive of rebellion, and villainy, and scum, unlike anything in the world, or something like that. I butchered that line. I'm back to being the fucking casual fan of the show. God damn it.
Do we have a hashtag for this week we could use?
I
was gonna say Sky Guy, but is that too
Cartoon Fox? Fucking Cartoon Fox. Got it.
That might be. Yeah, we might get like some weird like anime foxes, furries.
Oh, we're definitely going to get that. Let me look into
hashtag Google, Cartoon Fox. See if there's anything on there.
There's a thing called Kaleo Fox, Kaleo Fox. There's a whole bunch of like different things of him. Nothing pornographic. I mean, it's hard to put anything in Twitter, as our boy Nate said, and you don't get a bunch of X-rated content. At least in Nate's world, I don't know what he's looking up. He said he's got a lot of gay porn on his stuff when he does that.
I would back him up a little bit. It wasn't gay porn, but I looked up Pup Punk on Twitter today, and I saw some naked ladies, and I was like, what is happening there?
I did the thing of I saw the guy who's facing one of the Paul brothers in the boxing match the other day. It said he was trending.
Yeah.
And I saw Nina Agdal in a way I've never seen a Nina Agdal before. So that was interesting. Yeah. And he's now, I think he's a restraining order. He's probably canceled it. Don't do that, Chopper. If you're listening, watching the show, do not
Chopper, do not do that. So hashtag Cartoon Fox. That works.
Hashtag Green Dumper. Hashtag Green Dumper.
I think Cartoon Fox.
Okay.
Or, you know what?
Guys choose.
Hashtag
you guys
war.
choose at home.
Hashtag war. You choose. Yeah.
You guys choose. Hashtag war. Green Dumper versus Cartoon Fox. Two very different things.
People can be like, what did they talk about on that Star Wars show?
And in the comments, for the people that made it all the way to the end, God bless you. I want to know where this stands in the 2023 Star Wars show episodes. Where does this rank? Is this the best? Is this, behind the Mando episode? Was Andor this year or was that last year?
Last year.
Okay, so that I wanted to see where this stood. Is this better than anything in Andor? That's basically what I want to know, because Mandalorian I feel like was hit or miss. Is this episode better than anything Andor had? Tell me in the comments below where do you have this rank, this compared to Andor? Because this has to be everyone's number one Ahsoka, right?
Yeah. I mean, last week was awesome as well, but this is like years and years and years of stuff that we didn't even know we wanted. Like, I never thought we would get a live action adaptation of the Clone Wars necessarily with Hayden Christensen. I just thought, oh, it's great that we're getting more Star Wars content, being that Hayden and all them are done, when the cartoon originally came out. So this was like, didn't even know we wanted it, and we got it, and it was awesome.
That is something you say when you hear they're making the Ahsoka show. You go, wouldn't it be cool if they did a flashback and then it actually happened? Which, another thing from Heavy Spoilers, I guess someone had said there was rumors that they were going to redo the Mustafar scene.
Yeah, I saw the same rumors.
And it was going to be Ahsoka instead of Obi-Wan.
Yes, which sounds fucking cool.
Yeah, and whether it didn't work or they just kind of like were writing it out and being like, it's kind of like when you write a blog, you're like, this sounded a lot better in my brain than it did on virtual paper. So I'd love to know more about that. Filoni, just do it at some point. Just fucking, even if you just do it as a cartoon version, I think that would be sweet.
Do one of those like Tales of the Jedi, but make it live action, like a little 15-minute thing. I'd be fine with that. That'd be cool.
100%.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Come back next week for episode 6 of Ahsoka, our instant reactions and whatnot. Hopefully some Thrawn next week. Maybe some Ezra too. Maybe a little Ezra, maybe a little Thrawn.
And definitely some #green number.